The movie opens inside the massive animal city of Vineland, a place glowing with giant holograms, packed stadiums, roaring crowds, and endless energy. Hubs slide between skyscrapers while giant screens replay the greatest moments in the history of a brutal sport called Roarball. Roarball is fast, violent. Imagine basketball mixed with football, rugby, and pure chaos. Massive rhinos crash. Panthers leap across the court. Wolves sprint at impossible speed. And at the center of every kid's dream is one legendary player, Jett Fillmore. Inside the crowded arena, a young goat named Will Harris watches from the stands with wide eyes. Every slam, every roar from the crowd, every flash of light from the arena reflects across his face like he's witnessing. His mother, Louise, smiles while watching him lose himself in the game. Jett Fillmore dominates the court like a living storm. She moves faster than everyone else. She scores from impossible angles. And when the final buzzer sounds, the entire arena explodes with cheers. Young Will looks up at the court and quietly says, "One day, I'm gonna be the greatest of all time." But the moment he says it, nearby fans laugh. Because Will isn't a lion. He isn't a panther. He isn't built like the monsters that dominate Roarball. He's just a tiny goat. The movie then jumps forward 10 years. Vineland now feels colder, harder. The bright, dreamlike feeling from Will's childhood has faded. Will lives alone in a tiny apartment after losing his mother. Bills are piled everywhere. The lights flicker. His landlord keeps demanding rent money he doesn't have. Even though life keeps beating him down, one thing never changes. Every single morning before sunrise, Will trains. He runs through empty streets, shoots homemade Roarball shots using rusted hoops, practices dribbling until his hands shake, falls, gets back up, falls again, keeps going. The city barely notices him. To everyone else, he's another struggling nobody trying to survive. But inside his head, he still sees the roaring arena from childhood. Will works deliveries during the day while constantly listening to sports radio hosts mock small players. They say size is everything. Strength is everything. Small animals don't survive professional Roarball. Still, Will refuses to quit. His closest friends are Daryl, a loud and funny capybara who believes in him no matter what, and Hannah, an intelligent aardwolf who constantly reminds Will that talent means nothing without strategy. Together, the three spend nights watching old Roarball highlights projected onto apartment walls while arguing about legendary players. Then, everything changes. One morning, giant news screens across Vineland announce that the Vineland Thorns are holding open tryouts. The Thorns are one of the biggest teams in the entire Roarball League. The moment Will hears the announcement, his heart nearly stops. This is it. The opportunity he's waited for his entire life. The tryout arena is enormous. Hundreds of athletes arrive. Massive bears, muscular horses, and towering wolves and heavy rhinos. The entire place feels like a battlefield filled with monsters. And then there's Will. Small, skinny, a goat standing among giants. The second other players see him, they laugh. Some openly mock him. Others ask if he got lost. But Will walks onto the court anyway. At first, the drills go terribly. He gets shoved around, knocked to the floor, thrown against walls. Players overpower him with ease. But then something unexpected happens. Will starts moving differently. While everyone else relies on brute strength, Will uses speed, angles, precision, creativity. He squeezes through defenders no larger player could escape. He ricochets passes off walls. He launches impossible long-range shots. The coaches stop laughing. One by one, the arena slowly grows quiet. Because somehow, the tiny goat is scoring. Again, again, again. By the end of the tryouts, the impossible happens. Will Harris makes the team. The news spreads across Vineland instantly. Sports channels explode. Fans argue online. Commentators mock the decision. A goat on a professional roster? The Thorns themselves aren't excited either. Most of the team sees Will as a joke. a publicity stunt. A mistake. The worst reaction comes from Jett Fillmore herself. The same player Will idolized since childhood. Now older and carrying years of pressure, injuries, and frustration, Jett has become hardened. She no longer sees the game with wonder. For her, Roarball is survival. When she first meets Will, she looks him up and down with disappointment. She tells him directly, "You don't belong here." The words hit Will harder than any tackle. Still, he refuses to quit. Training with the Thorns becomes a nightmare. Every practice feels like war. Will gets slammed into walls, crushed by stronger players, humiliated constantly. The coaches bench him repeatedly. Fans boo whenever he enters games. Sports media turns him into a meme. But slowly, tiny cracks begin appearing. Will's unusual playstyle starts confusing opponents. Traditional Roarball depends on power. Will changes the rhythm completely, and he moves unpredictably when he passes faster, shoots from impossible distances, turns defense into chaos. Little by little, teammates begin respecting him. One teammate in particular, Lenny Williamson, starts mentoring him. Lenny understands what it means to be underestimated. He teaches Will that greatness isn't about becoming bigger than everyone else. It's about forcing the game to adapt to you. Meanwhile, Jett is secretly struggling. Behind her confident image is exhaustion. She's terrified her career is ending. Her body is slowing down. The pressure of staying legendary is destroying her. At one point, Will accidentally overhears her alone in the locker room after a brutal loss. The arena outside still shakes with angry fans while Jett quietly stares at her injured hands. For the first time, Will realizes his hero isn't invincible. She's scared. As the season continues, the Thorns begin climbing the rankings. Not because of raw strength, but because Will changes the entire flow of the game. Crowds that once mocked him now chant his name. Kids start wearing goat masks in the arena. Social media explodes with clips of his impossible shots. The city finally starts believing. But success creates new pressure. The media begins calling Will the future GOAT. Suddenly, expectations become overwhelming. Every mistake gets magnified. Every missed shot becomes headline news. At the same time, tension inside the team grows worse. Some players feel Will is receiving too much attention. Jett feels her legacy slipping away. Management starts focusing more on marketing than teamwork. Then disaster strikes. During a critical game, Will attempts a risky move that backfires horribly. The Thorns lose. Fans erupt in anger. Commentators blame Will for everything. Jett finally explodes. In front of the entire locker room, she accuses Will of turning Roarball into a circus. She tells him he cares more about proving himself than helping the team win. Will fires back. Years of frustration finally pour out. He accuses Jett of being afraid. Afraid of losing. Afraid of change. Afraid that someone new might become the face of the sport. The room falls silent. Jett walks away furious. The team begins falling apart. Losses pile up. Chemistry disappears. The dream season starts collapsing. At his lowest point, Will returns to the old neighborhood court where he trained as a child. Rain pours across the empty streets. Neon signs flicker through puddles. He sits alone holding the ball while memories of his mother echo in his mind. Her voice reminds him why he loved the game in the first place. Not for fame, not for attention, not to become a legend, but because playing made him feel alive. Meanwhile, is her own breaking point. She watches old footage of herself as a younger player. Back then, she played with joy, freedom, passion. Somewhere along the way, she forgot all of that. Eventually, Jett finds Will training alone at night. The city sky behind them while distant thunder rolls through the sky. For the first time in the movie, the two truly talk. No cameras, no crowds, no pressure. Just two athletes admitting their fears. Jett confesses she's terrified of becoming irrelevant. Will admits he's terrified of never being enough. That conversation changes everything. The next game becomes the biggest match of the championship. The arena is massive. Lights explode across the ceiling. Crowds roar so loudly the floor shakes. The opposing team is terrifying. Huge players, relentless defense, pure aggression. From the opening whistle, the Thorns struggle. The opponents dominate physically. Jett gets slammed repeatedly. Will can barely move through defenders. At halftime, they're losing badly. The locker room feels hopeless. Then Will stands up. Instead of giving some dramatic speech about winning, he reminds the team why they started playing in the first place. For the love of the game. That moment reignites something inside everyone. The second half becomes absolute chaos. The animation explodes with color and speed. Every movement feels electric. The crowd rises with every possession. Will starts playing fearlessly. He launches impossible shots from across the court. Jett attacks the defense with renewed confidence. The entire team finally plays together instead of competing against each other. The final minutes are intense. The score is tied. The clock is nearly out. The entire arena is standing. Will gets the ball. 3 defenders rush him instantly. For a split second, everyone expects him to take the final shot himself. Instead, he smiles, then passes the ball. A perfect assist. Jett leaps through the air and scores. The buzzer explodes. The arena erupts into absolute madness. Confetti rains from the ceiling. Fans scream. Teammates crash into each other celebrating. But the biggest moment isn't the victory. It's what happens afterward. Reporters surround Will, asking if he finally considers himself the GOAT. Will looks around at his teammates cheering out and the game he changed forever. Then he says, "Being great isn't about being bigger than everyone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself." The movie ends with kids across Vineland playing Roarball and not animals anymore. Small animals. Different animals. Players who never believed they belonged before. And among them is a small young goat launching impossible shots beneath the glowing lights of the city. The final image freezes on Will's